A 9-year-old girl seems like the perfect child, until people around her start dying one by one. But the most terrifying part isn't the murders, it's the smile on her face after they happen. At the beginning of the movie, we see a young girl looking out her bedroom window at a cat drowning in a fountain. Strangely, she makes no attempt to save it, and there isn't the slightest hint of emotion on her face. She quietly closes the window and goes about her daily routine as if nothing ever happened. She starts organizing the things in her room when her father comes in to call her down for breakfast. The little girl's name is Emma. Her mother has passed away, and she lives with her father. During breakfast, Emma tells him that her teacher, Miss Ellis, will soon be presenting the school's Citizenship Award. According to Emma, the award is given to students who demonstrate qualities like faith, honesty, courtesy, and compassion. With complete confidence, she declares that she's going to be the one who wins it. While Emma and her father are talking, her Aunt Angela arrives. She tells them that she has found a new babysitter for Emma. As soon as Emma hears this, she insists that she doesn't need a babysitter at all. While Angela and Emma's father discuss her previous babysitter, Emma casually mentions the dead cat in the fountain. After hearing this, her father pulls the cat out of the water and tells Emma that she shouldn't feel sad about it. But the surprising part is that there isn't even the slightest trace of sadness on Emma's face. In the next scene, we see Emma at school. She's sitting in class while all the students are focused on their lessons. Suddenly, a wasp flies into the classroom, sending everyone into a panic. But without showing the slightest bit of fear, Emma calmly traps it using a glass and a sheet of paper before releasing it safely out the window. Emma's fearless reaction strikes her teacher, Mrs. Ellis, as very unusual. Her classmate Milo asks how she managed to do that so easily. Emma explains that there's a wasp nest in her backyard, and her dad always says that as long as no one bothers the wasps, they won't bother anyone either. Meanwhile, Emma's father, David, is interviewing a new babysitter named Khloe. After looking over her resume, David is very impressed and ultimately asks her to start taking care of Emma the following week. Back at school, Emma deliberately bumps into another girl, causing her to fall to the ground. She then helps the girl back up with a warm smile and politely apologizes. Mrs. Ellis watches the whole thing from a distance, but the truth is something no one notices. Emma has cleverly stolen the girl's watch during the incident, and no one has the slightest idea that it's missing. That night, Emma sits in front of a mirror, practicing how to smile and respond, knowing that the Citizenship Award will be presented at school the next day. She repeatedly rehearses her facial expressions and perfects her smile so she'll appear to be the ideal student in front of everyone. The following morning, David helps Emma get ready for the school ceremony and then takes her there. The event is attended by all the students and their parents. Emma can't take her eyes off the medal. She's completely convinced that she's going to win it. Before announcing the winner, Mrs. Ellis gives an encouraging speech to all the students. But when she reveals that the award is going to Milo, the expression on Emma's face instantly changes. Everyone applauds as Milo receives the medal, and his mother is overjoyed to see her son honored. Emma, however, is anything but happy. The disappointment and anger of losing are written all over her face, even though she tries her best to hide them. A little later, Mrs. Ellis speaks privately with David and tells him that Emma is one of her brightest students. However, she often seems lost in her own world, which can come across as a little unusual to others. She also mentions that Emma doesn't appear to be afraid of anything. Mrs. Ellis says all of this in a light-hearted way, but her comments leave David visibly concerned. Shortly afterward, David tells Emma that he's proud of her. He knows she's feeling disappointed. Emma responds angrily, saying, "That medal belongs to me, and I'm the one who deserved it." Milo can't even speak confidently in front of the class. David tries to calm her down, but Emma is too upset and starts saying hurtful things about Milo. At that point, David becomes more serious and tells her to stop and be quiet. Hearing this, Emma immediately changes her tone and admits she was wrong. She tells David, "You're right. Sorry. Milo is my friend. I'm really happy he got it." After the award ceremony, the parents gather around the school grounds, chatting with one another over coffee while the students wander around nearby. Meanwhile, unnoticed by everyone else, Emma and Milo quietly slip away through the path behind the school. Walking through the woods, Emma and Milo eventually arrive at the shoreline. From there, they head toward a nearby cliff to enjoy the view. After a moment, Milo says, "I think we should head back now." Instead, Emma slowly steps closer to him. Confused, Milo asks, "What's wrong, Emma?" She doesn't answer. She simply stares at him in silence. Milo asks again, "What do you want?" Emma's eyes drift to the medal hanging around his neck, and in a cold voice, she says, "I think you know." Meanwhile, back at the school, all the parents are enjoying the gathering. David is casually taking a few photos of Milo's parents while everyone chats and soaks in the cheerful atmosphere. A short while later, Emma walks over to David and tells him that it's time for them to leave. Just then, Milo's mother asks Emma, "Have you seen Milo?" Emma replies, "The last place I saw him was by the bonfire." Suddenly, two young girls begin screaming. Hearing their cries, everyone rushes toward the cliff where they discover Milo's lifeless body. The horrifying sight leaves everyone in shock. Milo's parents are completely devastated and can't comprehend how something so terrible could have happened to their son. Emma, however, doesn't show the slightest change in expression. She simply stands there silently, watching everything unfold. That night, David and Angela talk about what happened to Milo. They assume Emma must be deeply traumatized after witnessing such a tragedy. What they don't realize is that Emma is secretly listening to their entire conversation from nearby. The most shocking part is that there isn't a trace of fear or sadness on Emma's face. The next morning, Emma is eating breakfast when David walks in and asks how she's feeling. Emma responds in a completely normal tone, as if nothing had happened the day before. Her reaction catches David off guard. He gently reminds her several times that if she wants to talk about what happened yesterday, she can always open up to him. But Emma simply smiles and replies, "I don't think there's anything to talk about." Her response strikes David as strange. He begins to realize that his daughter's reaction is very different from that of other children. A little later, David discusses Emma's behavior with Angela. Angela tells him that he's overthinking the situation. She insists that Emma is still just a little girl and that kids process things differently. Just then, Khloe arrives, the new babysitter David recently hired for Emma. As he shows her around the house, David explains Emma's habits and goes over the responsibilities she'll have while taking care of her. At that moment, Emma walks in. David introduces Khloe to her, but Emma immediately seems uncomfortable and stares at her with an unsettling expression. That night, Khloe is in David's room, looking through some of his belongings when Emma suddenly appears and tells her that she wants to watch a movie. Khloe asks Emma to wait downstairs, saying she'll be there in just a minute. After Emma leaves, Khloe quietly takes a few pills from one of David's drawers and slips them into her pocket. She then goes downstairs and starts watching the movie with Emma. While they're watching, Khloe asks Emma if she feels sad about what happened to Milo. Emma casually replies, "What difference would it make if I were sad? Milo's already dead anyway." Emma's response catches Khloe completely off guard. As they continue talking, Khloe asks Emma about her father, David, and whether he has a girlfriend. In the middle of the conversation, Emma suddenly reveals that she saw Khloe stealing pills from David's room. She calmly adds that Khloe doesn't need to worry because she won't tell anyone. After hearing this, Khloe can't shake the feeling that Emma is trying to blackmail her. Emma then looks at Khloe and in a commanding tone says, "Now go and get me some ice cream." Khloe glares at her angrily and snaps, "You little bitch." The next morning, everyone gathers at the school to pay tribute to Milo. Every child there is saddened by his death, and many of them are brought to tears. David offers his condolences to Milo's mother. Emma also appears to be crying, but it's obvious she's only pretending. During their conversation, Milo's mother mentions that it was the first medal her son had ever won. He had never received one before, and now, along with Milo, the medal is gone forever. Surprised, David asks what happened to it. Milo's mother says it was probably lost in the water and sank to the bottom. Meanwhile, David notices Emma crying and tries to comfort her. But the moment they return home, her behavior changes completely. There's no sadness on her face and not the slightest hint of remorse. Seeing this side of Emma leaves David deeply unsettled. A little later, David goes into Emma's room to put away a few things. His eyes fall on a stuffed animal lying on the floor. As he bends down to pick it up, we catch a glimpse of Milo's medal hidden underneath Emma's bed. However, before David can notice it, Emma suddenly walks into the room and asks what he's doing there. David replies that he was just picking up the toy from the floor. But in a serious tone, Emma says, "It's picked up? Anything else?" David is left staring at her for a moment, caught off guard by her strange and unexpected behavior. Realizing how she sounded, Emma immediately puts on a smile, acting as if nothing happened. Later, while sitting in his room, David looks through the photos from the award ceremony. In every single picture, Emma's eyes are fixed on the medal. Seeing that, he begins to grow suspicious. The next day, Mrs. Ellis arrives at David's house along with a member of the school administration. During their conversation, Mrs. Ellis says, "We're reaching out to all the parents to gather whatever information we can." David asks, "Have you found out anything about Milo? How did he fall off the cliff?" Unbeknownst to them, Emma is secretly listening to the entire conversation. Mrs. Ellis tells David not to misunderstand their intentions. They simply want to know if Emma might have seen or heard anything that day. Khloe notices Emma eavesdropping and calls her out. David then asks if there's something he should know. In response, the school administrator explains that 3 people reported seeing Emma heading toward the cliff that day. The moment she hears this, Emma quietly walks away and begins looking around at the objects nearby. Then, with remarkable cunning, she deliberately knocks a glass jar onto the floor and injures herself. Hearing the sound of the jar shattering, David rushes over to Emma, helps her up, and asks, "Are you okay?" After seeing what happened, Mrs. Ellis says they can discuss everything another time, and she leaves with the school administrator. Later, while putting a bandage on Emma's wound, David gently asks if there's anything about that day she wants to tell him. But Emma firmly says no. David then asks whether she went to the cliff that day. Emma immediately denies it. He explains that, according to Mrs. Ellis, several people saw her heading in that direction. Emma insists that Mrs. Ellis is lying and starts walking away. David stops her and asks, "Honey, why would Mrs. Ellis lie?" Emma replies, "Because she hates me. She never liked me." The next day, while David is working, Khloe comes to see him. When he asks how things are going, she tells him that Emma is a wonderful little girl and that she's really happy to be working there. David asks about Emma's behavior, but Khloe describes her as sweet and funny. Later, Emma and Khloe go for a walk together. During their walk, Khloe tells her that David had been asking questions about her. She then says, "I know you're a little bitch, but I told your dad you're the sweetest kid ever." Just then, they notice Mrs. Ellis arriving at Milo's house. Seeing this, Emma asks, "What's Mrs. Ellis doing at Milo's place?" Khloe replies, "She's building a case against you over what happened to Milo." Emma frowns and asks, "What do you mean, against me?" Khloe says she believes Emma is the one responsible for what happened. Emma immediately denies it, insisting that she didn't do anything to Milo. Khloe responds, "Well, we'll find out soon enough, but you'd better get your story straight or you're gonna get busted." After they get home, Khloe tells Emma that she knows she did something terrible to Milo and that she's lying to everyone about it. Emma insists she didn't do anything. Trying to scare her, Khloe says that children who commit crimes are treated horribly in jail. She claims they're forced to stand out in the sun all day and are tortured in the electric chair until their skin is practically cooked. Emma dismisses the whole story as nonsense. She then reminds Khloe that she stole pills from her father's room. Hearing that, Khloe asks, "Are you threatening me?" A little while later, Khloe realizes she can't find Emma and starts searching the entire house. She looks everywhere, but Emma is nowhere to be found. When she finally checks Emma's bedroom, she notices Milo's medal hidden underneath the bed. Meanwhile, after leaving Milo's house, Mrs. Ellis gets into her car and notices a wasp inside. The insect suddenly flies into her hair, causing her to panic and lose control of the vehicle. Somehow, she manages to stop the car and rolls down the window, allowing the wasp to fly out. But completely unaware of the real danger, Mrs. Ellis has no idea that Emma secretly placed an entire wasp nest inside her car. That evening, when David comes home and walks into his room, we see that Khloe has hung the medal she found under Emma's bed on a lamp. When Emma comes to see David, she notices the medal before he does. She quietly takes it down and starts walking away, but David spots her just in time. He asks what she's doing and what she's holding. Smiling, Emma replies, "Nothing." When David asks again, Emma reluctantly hands him the medal. The moment he sees it, he falls silent. David then asks how the medal ended up in the house. Pretending to be innocent, Emma says she has no idea. Just then, Khloe walks in and explains that she found it under Emma's bed while cleaning the room. Hearing that, Emma shoots Khloe an angry glare. David asks Emma how the medal got under her bed, but she refuses to give him a clear answer. Frustrated, he asks if she ever went to the cliff that day. This time, Emma admits yes. David follows up by asking, "Was Milo with you?" Emma replies, "Yes, for a minute." He then asks what happened there and how she ended up with the medal. Emma makes up a story on the spot. Smiling, she claims that she and Milo were playing a game, she won, and Milo gave her the medal as the prize. David doesn't believe a word of it and is left stunned by Emma's behavior. Disturbed by Emma's behavior, David gets into his car and drives away. On the way, he calls Angela and tells her that Emma needs to see a good child psychiatrist, someone she can talk to. While driving, David notices a serious accident on the side of the road. At the time, however, he has no idea that the victim who lost her life is none other than Mrs. Ellis. The following day, Emma tells Khloe that she shouldn't have placed the medal in her father's room. With a smile on her face, Khloe replies, "I feel so sad about you." Just then, David arrives and tells Emma to come with him. He takes her to Milo's house, where at David's request, Emma returns Milo's medal to his mother. When she asks how they ended up with it, David explains that Milo had let Emma wear it for a little while. Milo's mother then says, "I'm still in shock about Mrs. Ellis." Confused, David asks, "What happened?" She tells him that Mrs. Ellis died in a car accident the previous evening. David asks, "How did it happen?" Milo's mother explains that the news reported a wasp nest had been found inside her car, and she was stung multiple times. She adds that maybe Mrs. Ellis was transporting it for a science project, or perhaps there was some other explanation. The moment Emma hears this, she puts on a sad expression and says, "I'm really sad, Daddy. Mrs. Ellis was my favorite teacher. Can we go home, Daddy? I'm not feeling well." But as soon as they leave Milo's house, Emma turns to David and asks, "So now I don't have to talk about Milo ever again, right?" After saying that, she happily runs toward home with a smile on her face. A little later, while working in the backyard, David notices that the wasp nest is gone. Seeing that, his growing suspicions begin to feel more like certainty. The next day, David takes Emma to see a psychiatrist. After speaking with her, the psychiatrist concludes that Emma appears to be a perfectly normal and mentally healthy child. After the session ends, the psychiatrist reassures David that Emma is perfectly fine. Hearing this comes as a huge relief to him. In the next scene, Emma is in her room when Khloe walks in. Khloe tells her that everyone already knows she stole Milo's medal, and that soon they'll find out what she did to Milo as well. Emma responds by saying that she'll tell her father to fire Khloe. Khloe smirks and replies that Emma can't do that. She explains that she and David are getting along really well and that their relationship could eventually lead to her becoming Emma's stepmother. Hearing this, Emma stares at Khloe with a cold expression and tells her to stay away from her father. Khloe simply responds, "Or what?" She then adds, "You don't scare me, little girl. I don't care what you did to that poor kid. Where I come from, a spoiled little kid like you ain't nothing." Emma says nothing. She just keeps staring at Khloe in silence. That night, David is getting ready to head out when Emma walks over to him. She tells him that Khloe said the two of them are getting along well and that she might soon become Emma's stepmother. Emma then asks if it's true. Surprised, David looks at her and assures her that there's nothing like that going on. He then explains that he has to leave for a meeting, but will be back home soon. With that, David heads out. Meanwhile, back at the house, Khloe realizes she can't find Emma anywhere. She searches every room until she looks out a window and notices that the light inside the backyard outhouse is on. While searching for Emma, Khloe makes her way to the outhouse and calls out for her. Suddenly, Emma locks every door and exit from the outside. Khloe desperately tries to get out, but she can't escape. Moments later, Emma sets the outhouse on fire. As the flames spread, Khloe panics. Just then, Emma appears at one of the windows. Khloe pleads with Emma to open the door, but it's already too late. The fire reaches her clothes and she catches fire. Emma calmly watches the horrifying scene unfold. Within moments, the flames completely engulf Khloe and she dies in the blaze. Watching Khloe burn to death brings a smile to Emma's face. As soon as David hears about the incident, he rushes to the scene. An officer informs him that Emma is completely safe, but Khloe didn't survive. Hearing the news leaves David feeling utterly helpless. Once inside the house, he finds Emma waiting for him. With a smile on her face, she says, "It's okay, Daddy. Nothing happened to me," and wraps her arms around him. The way Emma behaves in that moment makes David realize the terrible truth. Late that night, while Emma is lying in bed pretending to be asleep, David comes into her room. He tells her that they could both end up in serious trouble and that she needs to tell him the whole truth. He reminds her that he's her father and that he loves her more than anything. He says he'll do whatever it takes to help her, but only if she's completely honest with him. Emma continues pretending to sleep and refuses to respond. Finally, David sternly asks her what she did to Milo. Emma sits up and admits that she didn't want Milo telling anyone she had taken his medal from him, so she pushed him off the cliff. She quickly adds that she'll never do it again. David then asks about their previous nanny, Mrs. Lavia. Emma explains that Mrs. Lavia grabbed her arm, so she pushed her down the stairs. According to Emma, she didn't do anything wrong because Mrs. Lavia was an adult. If she couldn't save herself, then that wasn't Emma's fault. David goes on to ask about Mrs. Ellis, the wasp nest, and Khloe. Clearly irritated, Emma snaps, "This is all bullshit." Furious, David demands to know if she has any idea what's going to happen to her now. Emma bursts into tears and says that Khloe claimed to know everything about what happened to Milo and kept insisting that the truth would eventually come out. She also says Khloe told her she was going to become her stepmother. Emma then starts screaming at the top of her lungs that she doesn't want a stepmother. Never. David tries to calm her down. Emma tells him that Khloe used to steal pills from his room, but he never did anything about it. David asks if that's why she did all of this. In a cold, emotionless voice, Emma replies, "Somebody had to." The next morning, David receives a call from the sheriff. The sheriff says he'd like to ask a few questions and arrange a meeting with both David and Emma. David explains that Emma isn't feeling well after everything that happened the previous night, and that he also has to take care of some personal business. He asks if the meeting can be postponed for a few days. The sheriff agrees and suggests meeting on Monday instead. After the call, David goes to Emma's room and tells her to pack her things. On the way, Emma asks where they're going. David tells her they're heading to his lake house. When she asks why, he explains that he needs a few days alone to think everything through. Soon, David and Emma arrive at the lake house. That evening, Angela calls David to ask about Khloe's death. David tells her that the police are still investigating and will hopefully figure out what really happened. A little later, David receives another call from the sheriff. The sheriff tells him that the investigation has revealed Khloe's death was not an accident but a deliberate act. Shocked, David asks if they know who was responsible. The sheriff says the investigation is still ongoing and promises to contact him immediately if they discover anything. As the days pass, David becomes increasingly worried about Emma. He even starts having disturbing nightmares. One day, while sitting at his computer, David is reading about the psychology of killers. Without making a sound, Emma quietly walks up behind him and watches what he's doing. Just then, David receives an urgent message from the sheriff, asking him to call back as soon as possible. At that moment, David notices Emma standing behind him. He asks if she was sneaking up on him. Emma walks over, sits on the edge of the table, and says that her father has never done anything wrong, so she doesn't understand why he's worrying so much. She tells him that she'll never do anything bad again. Then she asks him whether he really believes his own daughter could hurt someone in the future. After a long pause, David quietly replies, "I don't know anymore." Hearing those words deeply hurts Emma. She tells him that she didn't like what he said, then turns around and walks away. That evening, while David is asleep, Emma quietly walks over to him and gives him a kiss. She then sneaks into the kitchen and turns on the gas stove. One by one, she opens all the gas valves, allowing gas to spread throughout the house. After that, she calmly walks out by the lake. The smell of gas wakes David from his sleep. He immediately rushes out of his room and quickly shuts off all the gas valves. When he steps outside, he sees Emma standing near the lake. He walks over to her and asks why she did it. David tells her that he's the only person she has. Emma calmly replies that it isn't true. She says that if something happened to David, she could always live with her Aunt Angela. At least Angela believes she's a good little girl. Hearing those words come from his own daughter leaves David completely devastated. Even so, he gently takes Emma by the hand and walks her back into the house. Over the next few days, David spends long stretches of time staring at photographs of his late wife. His mind is filled with confusion and anguish as he struggles to figure out what he should do next. Then one day, gathering up the courage, David takes out some sleeping pills and crushes a large number of them into powder. David is heartbroken over what Emma has become. After struggling with the decision, he mixes the medication into Emma's hot chocolate and brings it to her. Emma asks for whipped cream, and David goes to get some for her. The two then share a warm and heartfelt conversation. During it, David tells Emma that her mother was just as beautiful and lovable as she is. Not long afterward, Emma falls asleep. As David walks out of her room, he receives a call from Angela. During the conversation, he tells her everything about Emma. Angela can hardly believe what she's hearing. She insists that Emma is only 9 years old and can't imagine how a child her age could be capable of such things. David replies that he can't bear the thought of his daughter spending the rest of her life locked away in an institution or a prison. So he says he's done something that will ensure Emma can never hurt anyone again. Shocked, Angela asks what exactly he has done. David quietly answers, "I've only protected Emma." Late that night, things take a shocking turn. Instead of dying as David expected, Emma suddenly opens her eyes, walks straight into his bedroom, points David's revolver at him, and uses his own finger to pull the trigger. By pure luck, the bullet misses David and lodges in his pillow instead. The gunshot wakes him instantly. Seeing Emma standing there, David asks in disbelief, "You're alive?" Emma calmly explains that she switched the cups, meaning David ended up drinking the hot chocolate that had been prepared for her. When David notices the gun in her hands, he tries to take it away. But the medication has already taken effect, leaving him too weak to stand properly. Taking advantage of the situation, Emma quickly calls 911 and starts screaming for help into the phone before running into the bathroom and locking herself inside. Fighting through the effects of the drugs, David manages to pull himself together and follows her to the bathroom. Just as he's about to shoot Emma, the police arrive and order him to surrender. David refuses, saying, "No, I have to do this. I have to protect Emma from herself." He raises the gun toward Emma once again, but before he can fire, the officer shoots David from behind, killing him on the spot. In the movie's final scene, the police are gathered around the lake house. Angela walks over to Emma. Emma quietly asks, "Was my dad sick?" Angela gently replies, "Yes, I think he was." She then wraps Emma in a hug, and as the film comes to an end, we see a mysterious and chilling smile slowly spread across Emma's face.